Marcus Paganini. Marcus, what a pleasure to have you with us. I'll tell you a little bit about Marcus here. He is the Vice President of Global Manufacturing Strategy and Deployment at Johnson & Johnson Consumer Health. Marcus is responsible for process design and standardization across the global manufacturing and supply chain network at J&J, focusing on key processes and technology choices and aligning strategy with customer needs. This involves a global network, operational excellence, smart factory, digital and automation, a culture of innovation, and global project portfolio and performance management. Marcus has worked at J&J for 14 years, covering all regions and many different functions. Prior to that, he was at Fiat Group, McKinsey, Mill Rubbermaid, and Sylvania Lighting. He is an operational excellence expert and has a proven track record of driving large-scale supply chain transformations across multiple sites and regions. Marcus, you're always a fellow Brazilian who was born in Brazil and went on to go all over the world with the journey of culture, business, and digital transformation. And it's a personal and professional pleasure of mine to welcome you to the conference.
Absolutely. So it's my pleasure. Let me just start sharing my screen. And so, Jose, for me, what a good coincidence, right? But first, because we are both Brazilians and we come with this energy, right, and positive attitude, to the world. But second, the work you do is fantastic, right? So this thing about sharing knowledge, connecting people. This is we live in a world that it's all about connecting, right? It's all about learning through communities, and create your own ecosystem, of improvement. So, and you provide that, so I'm always very glad, to join your sessions. Many times I join your sessions as a participant because I also see the value to learn, And by the way, many of my LinkedIn connects came across events that that you promoted, and where I learned as well, and I eventually connected personally, to some of the presenters, So I love this process. And today we're going to talk about something that is close to my heart, which is smart factory. A lot has been discussed about smart factory. There are elements that are facts, others that are myths. So it's always important to do a step back and to discuss about the context, right, and the concepts around the smart factory, and so that you can do better choices. It's all about choices, that we do in supply chain and manufacturing. And the more educated you guys are, right, about the different possibilities of choices, the better it is, because it's not about choosing digital solutions or what vendors tell us every time, but it's about putting those solutions in an organized way, and in a way that makes sense, right? So that's what I'm going to talk today. So let me just, so about me, and Jose already introduced me, but this is to say, I have a passion for operations, more than 30 years in the industry. I've been in all regions, multiple factories, multiple sites, multiple companies, always doing supply chain and manufacturing. I have passion for diversity and inclusion, different cultures, transformations, and I think this combination of factors, makes something really special. So first thing first, right? Let's talk about the overall overarching understanding of smart operations. Many times, right, and since the term Industry 4.0 came into the market about 10 years ago, right, from the event that happened in Germany, in Hamburg, a lot has been discussed about Industry 4.0. Now, and connecting that to the fourth industrial revolution, right? Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when we talk about the famous fourth industrial revolution, we are actually talking about the technology evolution, you know, and we all seen this, no, going from mechanization to electricity, computer, and then cyber physical systems, no. Now, but actually, since then, since up to this moment, right, when we talked about industrial revolution, we actually referred to the second part of my presentation, this deck, right, of production system evolutions. You know, in the academics, right, or the books and everything, when we refer to industrial revolution, we are referring to production system, right? And we all know that everything started with artisanal type of production, and then we had the advent of mass production, mainly starting with automotive, but also textiles, and then later on one food industry, and that increased to many other industries. No, and then the third step of the production system evolution has been the Toyota production system, right? That in a way combines the benefits of the previous two industrial revolutions. No, it tries to do make to consumption personalized products, no, but is still keeping a high scale and all the benefits of the mass production. So it is important to make this distinction, because you're going to see through my presentation that I will always be talking and connecting technology with operating model. And my definition of smart factory is the combination of both. So using technology and the benefits of technology within your operating system. So this merge is really important and most necessary. Okay. Now, a few important design principles, no, as I would call, and I go from on the left, from top to bottom. Activities that don't add value to customers are equal to waste. So we used to say that in operational excellence on the 80s and 90s, no, when we do our process mappings and the like. And guess what? This is extremely important nowadays as well, right? So I am sure that if you map your processes today, whether you are in discrete manufacturing or in service operations, you will find out that most of the activities and most of the time spent in your process mapping are not adding value to your customers. No, so you need to start by understanding where you add value, and you need to remove what I call flow breakers, because it's all about flow. No, the second element is that first the problem, then the solution. Don't start from the solution, right? Don't think that miracles, digital solutions will fix your problem. You know, so you start by thinking what are the problems you're trying to solve. You know, and you know, most of you know what Six Sigma is, right, or PDCA in the lean terminology. We always start with the problem statement. No, it is as basic as that, right? But we need to go through that exercise. The third element is that you need to think autonomous rather than automated systems. No, digital. What's the secret sauce of digital? It's that it brings connectivity, but also intelligence, right? Automation is something that has always existed. That there is nothing new in automation. No, automation since the advent of industrial revolution, we've been trying to mechanize activities, no, whether it is information or physical processes. But what is special is that when you put people, process, and data, you can make your automation smart. And when the automation is smart, this process is autonomous, and that's a very important concept. The other thing is that it's all about insights. No, guys, it's funny, right? Because I on the 90s, there were lots of discussions, no, and books and researches about data without value. And this discussion is back, and even more important today, because it got so cheap and easy to get data that every company, any manufacturing site is collecting data from left to right. No, And what this is making is that it's overwhelming the organization with a notion of data that nobody knows what to do with that. So before designing systems to collect data through sensors, IoTs as we call, right, and bringing this data to your cloud, bringing this data to your data lake, think of why you need that data, right, and how you're going to use that and how you're going to translate that data into insights. This is because what we need is insights, right, is direction, but not only data. The other thing is that the world is not linear anymore. So think about that. What we call supply chain, plan, source, make, deliver. It's very conceptual, but it's not reality. The world doesn't work like that. The connections are going in multiple directions. And by the way, your customers participating on this system, and on your production system nowadays, right? Because technology passed also to the hands of customers and clients as well. So you need to think about that. Why? Because what you want to create is an ecosystem of partnerships, right? And you as a manufacturer don't have all the power on your supply chain anymore. You need to orchestrate your supply chain, but you cannot dominate your supply chain anymore, as in the past it was the case. And final point is that value is maximized when there is structural change. Look, most implementations in digital and automation stay on the step 2. We substitute a process, we make it more efficient through digital tools, we scale to different locations and situations, but the difficult part really, and the secret sauce, is the structural change, as we call the famous third S. And that's what generates new business models, connecting directly to customers, connecting to vendors, and getting predictive analytics, or connecting to external indexes and information that can bring knowledge to your system, and this and this and that, and that can generate new ways of doing business. Okay, so that's very important. What I'm going to talk next, which is the circle that you see on the right side, is the expression of the TPS, right? Why do I say TPS? And by the way, this is a lean principle. We can give whatever name we want, because even Toyota says that they don't do Toyota yet, right? It's an endless journey, because it is fundamental that your before you implement any digital, that all these elements, or most of these elements, are in place. The operational excellence tools, being just in time and Jidoka in the right way within your network, and by the way, applicable and adaptable to your system. It's fundamental that this is in place, right? Whether you are a discrete manufacturing or a service operations, and why? Because brings agility. The whole idea of lean is to make things more frequently, but at the same or lower cost. So it brings agility. And by the way, we're talking about there's I think nothing more important nowadays than agility, in the crazy world that we are living, right? So you need to bring agility to your system. It brings less variability of your processes, so more reliability, and more process controls, making sure that your processes are robust. It brings continuous improvement mindset and approach, so that you never end learning and implementing innovation, and bringing, of course, disruptive innovation through consortiums, of stakeholders. And it's all about flow. I always talk, right? There's nothing more important in operations than creating flow. Flow, one, because when you have better flows, you have more efficiency. But second, because you generate more value to your customers. Because when we talk about flow, we are saying flowing value from your operations to your customers, and that's the whole notion of lean operations. Now, important. Let's make a pause here. Technology must serve the operating system and not the other way. And probably you've seen even Elon Musk, right? A major digital guru, I would say, right, or practitioner, saying, yes, excessive automation at Tesla was a mistake. To be precise, my mistake. Humans are underrated. So how many times I've seen excessive automation in the systems, right? And what the excess of automation brings, it brings many issues, right? First, of course, the cost element, right, and all the depreciation and capex that you keep. Second is all the indirect costs that you need to keep to manage that heavily capital-intensive system. No, but third is that automation will not necessarily bring you better flow. No, and sometimes and many times a heavily automated process in the middle of your flow can even cause your process to slow down. No, so a good balance of capital intensity is really necessary, and keeping in mind that humans will always be in the middle, right, in the center of any operating system, right? So it's wrong to believe that digital and automation must exist to eliminate people. No, they exist to augment people and to augment people's capabilities, right? Now, I often refer to a framework which I use to build smart factory designs. No, because each factory is a special factory, and each factory has its own reason to exist. So you need to think about factory by factory, and then supply chain by supply chain. And obviously, when you have commonalities across factories, through digital platforms, or similar technologies, or when you have commonality across your supply chains, you will do things in a global way. When it is specific to single factories or supply chains, you do specific for that. But it all starts on the left, understanding your business drivers and how your factory sits within your network. Why? What is the reason to exist? And how that plays. And that's very important, because even for factories that have same technology or same production type, but they are eventually sitting in different countries or different channels, they may have different propositions, right? Some may be more cost oriented, others more agility oriented, others more innovation oriented, right? So you need to understand what is the reason to exist, for that part of the network. The second one is the assessment of flow. As I said, this is a key element. You need to map your flow through value stream mappings, and then to understand your flow breakers, because this is the problem you're trying to solve. The third element is about technology, the technology itself. And you need to really to understand your IT and OT systems, right? And for many reasons, because you have obsolescence systems, you need to see the different ways to connect to your equipments. You need to create a system that has a highest level of cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. And the last point, as I said, is people, skills, and organization. How your people and your organization plays within your company culture. This is a fundamental element, because digital and process must work in combination of your culture that you are creating or that you have. And then in the middle, once you do all these assessments, you start making choices, on some technologies that are universal. Probably you will need a cloud system, you need a digital stack, you need a Wi-Fi system, you need IT and OT perfect systems, but then you're going to make choices of where to apply digital twin, where to apply smart asset optimization, and then fit for purpose, as I like to call, right? Don't go and start implementing digital twin everywhere in your industry, right, or in your landscape. It's most probably not needed for that. Now, value stream mapping, and I purposely put a very traditional picture of a value stream mapping here. Today, of course, there are very fancy ways to do process mapping. There are systems that provide this ability to do digital value stream mappings, which is a great idea because you can make it dynamic, no, as well. But what is the purpose behind doing a value stream mapping, either within your factory or at the end-to-end supply chain, and with a combination of physical flows and information flows? Is because by doing that, you will understand your flow breakers, as I keep saying. And that is fundamental, right? Like we do in quality when you want to do an FMEA, right? To improve the reliability of your system, you will define your critical to qualities, right? Your CTQs, no points in your element, the fragile elements, and then you work on those areas to make it more robust. The same for flow, right? And once you do that, and then you're going to have long quality release times, long changeovers, defective materials, maintenance issues, and this and this and that, which are typical flow breakers. Then and only then you can consider digital tools to help fixing those problems, not in isolation, but within your operating model. And there are multiple digital tools that can do that, right? Always combined with people and processes. One element that I said, which is important, is your digital stack, right? I will avoid being too technical here because probably you've seen the same page here with different flavors, no? But basically, we are saying about the architecture of your data connect, collection, and treatment, no, in your system, and we call that digital stack. Basically, what we call common data layer minus is how you connect to your IT and OT systems, no, collecting that data and bringing to a common data layer, no, your data lake. And then you're going to treat this data and bring to the CDL plus, no? Now, watch out, right? Well, first, well, there are many companies providing that, right? We personally in Johnson & Johnson, we use MS Azure, but there are so many providers and they're all equally very good and strong. Now, it's not because you have a digital stack and that you can easily connect equipments and systems, right? That you will want to connect everything, right? So you need to be careful, right? Because sometimes a cloud system, right, or a digital stack can give the wrong notion that you can bring any data to the system and that all this data will be treated easily, no? So you need to be careful, no? Because otherwise you can create a massive issue of having too much data, and that without protocols and without the data quality that you need to then go to the CDL plus. So you need to be very careful, no? When you collect, what's the quality of the data, what's the definition of that data, and how you're going to use that. All these attributes are very important to make sure that the system is robust. Many of the operational excellence tools that I mentioned before, and here are just 4 examples, but you have tons of them, now can be augmented through digital. So value stream mapping, I just said, you can be digital. Maintenance and asset management. So many times we say condition-based maintenance, predictive maintenance. Guys, these are not new concepts. No, it exists for decades, really. No, predictive maintenance is an old technique, no, that we do in reliability and asset management. But now, what's the secret sauce is that you can better collect the data and better understand the phenomena, no, the drivers, no, behind that data, and bring that intelligence to your maintenance excellence systems, no. And so you need to have a maintenance, a TPM type of process, no, total productive maintenance, to then have the most of digital. Same for equipment changeover. You can do digital and SMAD systems, right? And use machine learning, artificial intelligence to make that process stronger. Problem solving the same, right? with PDCA or Six Sigma approaches and the like. Now, that's the way we use. It's only one example, what you see here. For each case, proof of concept, what we do, and we force ourselves, right, to think about the business process, the problem you're trying to solve, what is the how that connects to your our Johnson & Johnson production system, so the operating model, and how digital will make that better, right? So we make this sequence to make sure that the sequence is correct. This is just one example. We have, of course, dozens of these, and I just wanted to illustrate. So the message here, what is the message, right? We need to connect technology with process, with people. And by the way, an operating model and therefore digital can only work if you have the right culture as well. Don't forget that, right? Bringing digital and keeping your organization hierarchical, difficult, bureaucratic, it doesn't work, right? Because the benefit of digital is to democratize data, right? Is to bring autonomy to your shop floor and to let your people take decisions. No, if you don't change your culture, you're not going to be using digital in the right way. So you don't want to create digital to create control towers. No, so it's not about control towers. It's about enabling towers. No, so think about that. Probably culture and people are going to be the most important element of your digital implementation. And if you do well, you're going to have a much better performance from your operational excellence. If you don't do well, this slope will go downwards. That's the bad news. No, I just want to finish with one page, which I always do. We work in operations, work in factories, thousands of people, multiple locations, and I can never finish a presentation without talking about communities, no, that must receive attention. If you have passion for that, please connect to me in the LinkedIn. We are in a campaign now because there are thousands of children in the island of Madagascar that are dying because of the current situation with COVID and economy. And I do need your help, guys, to feed 1,600 children every day. And we want to do that for at least 3 months until we can bridge to a better situation in the island. So please connect, and I can show more and show how you can contribute to that. So with that, I stop my sharing here, and we can have a chat. So Jose, that's all for the presentation.
Always an outstanding presentation and masterclass on what it takes to really implement digital transformation effectively. So Marcus, lots of interesting comments that have surfaced. But one of the things that you pointed out, which I think is very important, is that you know, some of the concepts are not new. They have been around for a long time, and the fundamental foundational concepts like total preventive maintenance, lean principles, right, and so on and so forth. It's an interesting observation that was supported by our audience that sometimes people talk about technology and talk about new ways of doing things, and often they don't understand the fundamentals. And they talk about as if predictive maintenance, as you said, it's something that it's an emerging field of some sort that just now we started using data to predict, you know, how we're going to maintain systems. And where in reality, as you pointed out, that has been done for decades. You wouldn't be able to survive as a manufacturer if you didn't do that. Well, maybe you can survive, but certainly not thrive as a manufacturer if you didn't do that. So, so in that journey of maturity, let me ask you, the question is, if you want to have smart operations, and I apologize if this sounds redundant because I think you cover already, but I want to emphasize because it's an important item from the audience. If you wanna have smart operations, you need to start with some important fundamentals, which you mentioned, but I would like you to emphasize them one more time. What are the things that you need to have in place before you start trying to automate, before you start trying to digitally transform? What kind of setup from culture to basic systems? What are some of the fundamentals, if you will, for great manufacturing?
Absolutely. And of course, we could spend here hours, right? But I will for sure be succinct here. Look, it's like when Toyota started in designing their system, they didn't abandon mass production systems, right? What Ford did, what other companies did, they took the most of that. And those fundamentals, no, of the mass production system, of creating process standardization, of creating reliability, of creating repetitive tasks, no, quality controls, no, SPC as we call, no, statistical process control. These are needed, right, in the production system. We're talking about operations of production, which has a repetition, right? And I always say it's also valid for service, no? So you need to have that basics, right? Because there is no way you can you want to improve speed or to bring digital if your system is not reliable, it's not consistent, right? So that's from the side of process, no? The second element is, of course, people. No, so your people must be motivated. Your people must have curiosity, to learn and to give ideas. No, you need to have diversity in your operations to have different ways of thinking. You need to think about being less of a command and control approach and more supporting and coaching of your system. So you know, and I call those basics, right? But we all know it's not that simple, right? Because when you create habits, right, it's difficult to evolve, and it's a never-end story, right? But these are needed foundational elements before you can dream about very advanced production systems. No.
Important topics that you cover there, and specifically on culture that you touched a bit on. The question sometimes becomes, what is the right culture to have? Because cultures can be shaped in so many different ways, and but there probably are a number of common denominators that you see when it comes to culture and behaviors. What are the types of cultures and behaviors that you believe need to be in place to enable smart operations, to enable a successful digital transformation? If you can talk a little bit more about just the values, the cultural values and behaviors that you see sometimes. And I know this because you have this experience like I do. You're in a large company where culture is not this uniform thing that everybody in the company is the same. I mean, from probably manufacturing facility to manufacturing facility, you have slightly different cultures. And if you look across your own system, what are some of the behaviors that you're trying to build in that culture so that you have effective digital transformations?
Wow. Listen, for me, it's not different than your own family, your own community, and so on and so forth. One of the most important elements in any system that aims to have human cooperation, right? Because supply chain is nothing different than a human cooperation, right? One of the most important principles is trust. So you need to have a culture where trust exists. Because I tell you, from the moment, and we all experience systems with trust and without trust, right? When there is no trust, man, I tell you, people work for money, people count the minutes they're working, people do the worksheets, people mislead the system, people don't bring the ideas, people don't comply, right? So it's impossible, right, to have a system that is high performance when there is no trust. So for me, that and easy to say, difficult to do, because human beings are not simple. But when you have trust, man, everything flows. And I tell you, when you have trust, You have these organizations that don't even care about what we call span of control. Why you have span of control, right? You say, okay, my organization, I need to have from 8 to 10 direct reports because that's the level that I can manage, right? It's because there is no trust. Because when there is trust and when people are, of course, well trained, committed, and with all the other elements of having skills, you can have endless number of span, as we call, right? So you need to have those elements: trust, autonomy, the right behavior, and of course, high skills, no, and capabilities. No, that's what I call by the right culture. No, and when that happens, it is magic. I can tell you.
Marcus, we are running against time here, but I want to say it's always a pleasure to learn and share with you. Thank you for taking your time. It's a long day already for you, end of the day there in Switzerland, and you're here sharing your wisdom and expertise with our global audience, and we're all very thankful for that.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Anytime. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Marcus Paganini, global leader of manufacturing at Johnson & Johnson, directly from Switzerland, sharing his wisdom and expertise with him. We're very thankful for that. This wraps up our sessions today. We had tremendous coverage from legal practices to transactional processes to manufacturing related manufacturing industries here. Great cross-industry leaders sharing their experience and their expertise with us. If you wanna learn more, if you wanna engage, go into the LinkedIn post under my name and this conference. Ask questions to our conference speakers. Connect with them directly they're all hyperlinked in the post for this conference. Thank them for sharing selflessly and generously with us. Tomorrow, our last day will pack another 4 great cross-industry leaders of culture, business, and digital transformation. We're going to start the day tomorrow with Krish Ramanathan, who is the Director of Business Process Reengineering and Lean Six Sigma at Jabil, another great world leader in manufacturing who has been implementing incredibly powerful, meaningful culture, business, and digital transformations across all of the business units. That will be followed by a deep dive on unleashing digital twins to optimally empower the workplace. And we have 2 great leaders, Hosni Asdra and Jean DeVries, who have over 30 years of leadership experience each on digital transformations across multiple industries. So they're going to discuss with a little bit of a deeper technical dive on digital twins and their use and how they're accelerating digital transformations in many industry segments. That will be followed up by a refocus again on customer experience and employee experience in the digital transformation journey. And we're going to be having a discussion with Raja Gagavarapu, who is the Enterprise Vice President of Software Engineering for Wolters Kluwer. And he is going to be discussing with us employees as customers and digital employee engagement. So Raja has done leading work in this area. He's going to share with us on his presentation tomorrow. And we're going to wrap up the day tomorrow with the customer success measurement analytics and data management leader from Cisco, Nilesh Ajmani. And Nilesh is going to discuss with us how we achieve and sustain secure business automations for digital workplace transformations. So he's going to be talking about this digital transformation, but the role of security transformation in that digital transformation and how they must go hand in hand. And he's going to wrap up the conference for us tomorrow. So for now, whatever you are in the world, have a great rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you at this same channel tomorrow. Take care, everyone.